We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Welcome back to Cactus Wrestling. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and like the video. Share with your friends, your family, your teammates, your coaches, anyone who loves the sport of wrestling. So a few months back, we did what is the best state for freestyle, and we had a bunch of data and we gave the results. Now that Super 32 has just ended, Mike here has compiled a list of data for Folkstyle tournaments for high school and
Thanks, Mike.
girls. And I'll let you run with it. What'd you find, Mike?
Perfect. So just to build off what Jack was saying, everyone loves to talk the smack of, okay, I'm the best state and I'm from Jersey or I'm from, Illinois or I'm from Maine, which people don't usually say if they're from Maine. But hey, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, what's the actual best state? So Jack said it. We looked at freestyle at Fargo. We looked at Greco at Fargo. Okay, now we've seen that. Let's look at our best folk style states. What's the best tournament? Super 32. You get thousands of wrestlers there, all whittles down into one. It's pretty clear Pennsylvania, I'll be honest. So even just this year alone, Pennsylvania had 9 out of 14 high school weights in the finals.
Dang.
Yeah. So they had 7 champs and 2 runner-ups.
Didn't one school have 3 champions?
Bishop McCourt, home of Bo Bassett, Jax Forrest, and Melvin Miller. And some other, and they have, Sam Herring. They have other incredible wrestlers there as well. But those 3 won championships. One school, 21% of the titles.
That's so crazy.
Insane.
The Penn
But
State of high school.
Yeah,
the Penn State of high school.
wrestling.
So what I did though is I looked at 2019, 2020 was canceled pretty much because of COVID. 21, 22, 23. So basically a 5-year spread. I looked at the girls division, the middle school division, and the high school division. I've always said that middle school, they matriculate to the high school, so it's good to see how they look as well. So I factor that in. If you guys remember how I did it in the Fargo video, if that team took first in that division, they got 50 points for 50 states, and so on and so forth for a running total. So, as you can see, for the past years in every single category,
What? Every single
Pennsylvania won it across the board for a perfect score of 450 points.
That's wild.
In second at 427 is California. Very, solid years, always finishing as one of the top, top 3, top 2, even top 4. Right behind them, New Jersey. This is where I was expecting New Jersey to be. I was kind of surprised they weren't higher up on our Fargo list. And I said, well, Jersey's a great wrestling state. What's going on? And it looks like a lot of their chips are in the folk style, bag, which is fine, makes sense. I was just, like I said, surprised to not see them higher up. 398 points. Illinois came next, and we talked about this with freestyle and Greco. Illinois, best Fargo state, year after year after year after year. And we always say, well, what the heck? Where are these guys going? And they say, well, maybe, it's just a freestyle thing, or it's just a Greco thing. They're number 4, and a close number 4 at that, right behind Jersey as the number 3. They're an incredible state. They just can't seem to keep the talent in.
Yeah, because Illinois universities year in, year out,
Yeah.
I do have to wonder with Pennsylvania and New Jersey, because obviously you have the prep schools, Bishop McCourt's in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Malvern Prep's in Pennsylvania, and Blair's in New Jersey. So I wonder,
How much these guys are like, well, he was from Alaska originally.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
they moved to Blair to.
That's a good point.
it is. It's a really, I'd like to be able to have the resources to break it down and trace lineage back and be
Yeah.
like, okay, he was born in Montana, and he wrestled there for 12 years, and he was a great wrestler. But a lot of these guys, we're seeing them hit that stride when they're at these private schools anyway, or public schools.
Yeah, but
the fact is,
I think it just goes to show, the best wrestlers are going to these states.
Well, that's exactly what I was getting at too. Is like,
yeah,
regardless of where they started, they're ending up in the best wrestling state, and
Yeah.
maybe that's what makes the state great. But there had to be someone talent there originally to make other people want to come there.
Yeah,
it's true.
so it's Illinois right now. It just needs
Illinois just needs to keep the talent in
just
state.
needs to keep the talent in Illinois. They need Kale to
Yeah.
go to Illinois.
Number 5, we had Ohio, and again, another like classic, traditional, tough wrestling state. You think of like, the Tournament of Champions that happens in Ohio, which is a huge event. We have to be invite only. You have to be some sort of champion to qualify to be invited. It's not like, oh, I was really good at states. It's like, no, you have to be a champion of some event to be able to even just apply to go. I was surprised to see Florida so high, number 6.
I'm actually really surprised to see Florida.
Because I don't think of them as this great wrestling state. I think Florida, I think baseball, I think football, I think like outdoor sports that they're really great at. I've never been like, oh yeah, like that winter team wrestlers at Florida. But to Jack's point, there are some good private schools in Florida.
Yeah.
So what came first, the chicken or the egg? Kind of.
Well, Brandon, Florida, right? That was the team
Yes.
with the undefeated
the
streak.
undefeated streak.
I was super surprised to see this. Georgia as the number 7 best folk style state.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Georgia? They have wrestling in Georgia.
Again, like this is one of those, and we said the same thing about Fargo. Is like how were they so good? And no one, I don't know if I know a single wrestler from Georgia that was like one of the top guys.
I mean, I had a teammate in college who was from Georgia, but
well, he wasn't a national champion.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the starter, so
Indiana, Virginia, Montana, Michigan, Minnesota. Every time I do it, every time. Minnesota, Michigan, New York. Again, New York's one of those traditional, like tougher states that people talk about. A little bit lower than I thought.
Well, that's interesting because Yanni's from New York, Vito's from New York, TJ Duke's from New York,
Kyle Dake is from New York.
Yeah.
A lot of really good talent is from that state. And I feel like we're always like, oh, what a great wrestling state. I mean, Ja'Cory Teemer's from New York.
Yeah.
And they have some huge names, but I wonder if some of these guys ended up going private.
Oh, could be. They go to Blair. They go to Wyoming Sim.
Yeah. So like I said, I'd like to trace back the lineage a little bit. Maryland, Missouri.
I'm surprised Missouri's not higher.
I'm surprised Missouri was this high.
Is this just Super 32s?
This is just Super 32.
So my thought is maybe you're not getting as many people traveling from Midwestern states.
Debatable. I mean, this is the biggest event of the year.
Yeah, no. If you're big time in wrestling and you want to go to the big time event, this is to go to this.
This is huge. Like that's why I looked into NHSCA as well, but the way they do their point system is kind of terrible. So it's tough to track everything. And although I know a lot of guys that skip NHSCA because it's not tough enough, that'll go to Super 32. And vice versa. I know guys that go to NHSCA but don't go to Super 32 because it's too tough.
I'll place at NHSCA.
Yeah. Well, I know a guy that won NHSCA twice, and his best finish at Super 32 was 6th.
Oh, dang.
He was a 2-time national champion for NHSCA. I think he took 3rd as a freshman. Didn't wrestle his senior year because he had an injury. And as a junior, he took 6th at Super 32.
Here's
just shows like,
yeah,
is the girls division freestyle?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah, and this year they did the 3-point takedown. So that was
the 3-point takedown made things very interesting. Last year I believe they did riding time at Super 32. I'd have to go back and check. I like that they like to mix in college rules. I'd like to see them go full college rules, though, if I'm being honest. Because the guys that win Super 32 are not the guys that are going to say, hey, man, like, that's cool. I don't actually want to wrestle in college.
Oh, they're not, what's his face?
Aaron Pico?
No, not Pico. Oh, Jessaroga.
Yeah. I mean, that's That's more of a rarity.
Yeah.
I think that's just burnout.
Yeah.
But again, Tennessee 15, North Carolina, Wisconsin, CT.
ACT, baby.
I was surprised how high Connecticut was. Obviously I'm biased being from Connecticut, but I don't think we're that great of a state, and I think that's okay to say. But the results kind of show otherwise.
I
But
think I think the girls in the middle school maybe are helping it out.
yeah, I was gonna say we get carried a little bit, I think, by that. Um, Colorado, Oklahoma. I was surprised to see Oklahoma in the lower than this.
Yeah, usually, yeah, I would expect Oklahoma to be higher.
Well, where's Ferrari from?
Texas.
Well, I guess originally Texas, then to New Jersey, then to Oklahoma, then back to Texas.
Because
And
you
then
know you
Iowa.
can go to these events.
Yeah, they don't go to these anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They go to who's
West
number one.
Virginia, South Carolina, Arizona is on the rise. So they're on the come up. They had some really talented guys and girls this year. This one I thought was interesting. Iowa is so low, but if you look, they didn't send anybody for 2019.
Mm.
So if they brought people in those years, that probably would have helped them a ton. Because
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, especially with
the
their
40, 40,
placement.
40, yep. They're in the
Yeah.
40s.
If you
Except for
yeah, go ahead.
you go first.
No, I was just gonna say if you did the average, they'd
Yeah.
probably be higher because they're in the 40s for a lot of those years.
Yeah, or if next year you add next year and remove
Yeah.
the furthest back year, they'll shoot up.
Probably, yeah. Like I said, I was just surprised to see them all sit out that one year. Texas, Massachusetts, Alabama, New Hampshire. I could go all the way through it if you guys want, but it's
Well, go to the bottom. Who's
that's
the
what we're gonna
worst
do.
wrestling state?
What do you think the lowest state is?
Oh, I already saw it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
already
I've
saw
seen
that.
it. It's Wyoming.
Oh, Wyoming. No, I thought
Oh,
it was Mississippi.
Well,
yeah, I was like Mississippi. It makes sense.
they're the same point scores, but Wyoming
Oh.
is bigger state, I
And
think.
again, I'll say that there's only 400,000 people living in Wyoming, so that doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
Yeah,
So they never bring people, so that's
Arkansas,
doesn't help.
Maine.
Maine, yeah, again, Maine brings people sporadically, but not like crazy.
Yeah, there's those guys that want to wrestle D3 from Maine.
Montana, North Dakota, Alaska, higher than Maine.
That's
There's always one kid from Alaska.
And then there's Hawaii above them.
well, Hawaii. Yeah, I feel like they get some decent
Terrell,
people.
David Terrell.
I was surprised to see Kentucky, because we know the Rainey brothers are both from there.
Oh, right.
And it's like,
They
wow.
didn't wrestle this year, right?
No, they didn't go this year.
Yeah.
So it's funny because it's like, man, like you guys are both so incredibly talented, but maybe the rest of your state isn't very good either, though.
Yeah. They might be the diamonds in the rough there.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just surprised by it. Not too surprised to see Pennsylvania take number one. Like I said, they really do just wrestle there. California is probably the, let's see. If I was to do the math quick in my head for combining Fargo and Super 32, I think Pennsylvania comes out as 1, California 3, Illinois probably 2, and then New Jersey's pretty low, just because of Fargo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Pennsylvania is the pretty clear cut number one state, at least looking at the Fargo and the Super 32 results.
Yeah, as everyone would expect.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania they do a ton of wrestling.
Yeah.
So
Cool stuff.
that's the Super 32 data.
Cool stuff. And we'll talk about Super 32 in more detail in another separate video. But drop a comment down below. What do you think of this data? What state are you from? And what do you think of the rankings here? Hopefully we can continue this trend moving forward and see Connecticut on the rise, maybe.
Yeah.
How are you gonna get your state better? What are you guys doing out there to raise your state?
Yeah, represent. I saw Sam Latona. He was saying on a podcast, you don't need to be from a good state. He's, I think, from Alabama to be a good wrestler. So you can be a good wrestler from anywhere. Just gotta
Yeah.
work. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.